Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, welcome to another interview with the one and only Ryan Dawson, who's been providing us with his geopolitical knowledge and expertise on a daily basis, giving us updates about exactly what's going on, whether it's the war with Iran, the US-Israel war with Iran, whether it's what's happening in the Middle East, the GCC countries, or whether what's happening in the ground or attempted ground invasion of Israel and the Hezbollah counter. Ryan, thank you so much for taking time out to join us. How are you?
I'm good, and that's been the big development is Hezbollah. It's Richard Medhurst did an excellent breakdown of it, base by base. Hezbollah has been taking out their eyes, taking out their radar towers all along the blue line and some beyond, because some of them are now in the Stolen Heights. They call the Golan Heights. I call them the Stolen Heights.
Yeah.
They've been able to hit them, and they've been able to take out tanks. I have some more information on when they on the first incursion. I told you they took out a tank, and then they took out the tank that went to rescue it. We know now they were using Cornet anti-tank missiles, so that's cool. They've been taking radar out with Katyushas, with drones, with a variety of different things, and they've even hit as deep as Ben Gurion Airport, which is not a civilian airport. It doubles for the military because Israel does hide behind human shields. Just classic them to accuse of others of what they actually do. And so without their radar, they're blind. And you got to understand the IDF are not like trained guerrilla fighters that can just react on their own. They're totally dependent on this network. And so when they're left out there in the field, they just end up getting waxed. And each one of these radar towers has crew. So hundreds of IDF have been killed. They're just lying about their casualties. Total blackout. And drone warfare. The Hezbollah is swarming them with drones. Apparently, they got Smotrich's son. And I'll tell you what happened there was originally they lied and said he was lightly wounded. I thought maybe he scratched his knee and they just want him off the front line because he's an important person. But you see, they sent evacs out there with helicopters because he's an important person, but the 8 other people with him were killed or captured. So that shrapnel went through his back and damaged his liver is probably correct. That's what his father said. With an injury like that, he's probably not going to make it much longer. Oh well, you can see my crocodile tears. Care less. Now, as far as Ben Gvir, a lot of rumors that was never confirmed. Doesn't seem like he was killed, although some of his property was destroyed. And the same with Netanyahu's brother. It seems to be Twitter slop. I don't see any confirmation on that, although that could be true, but I have not been able to confirm that still.
You mentioned, just going back to Hezbollah, you mentioned about the blue line. If you want to just elaborate to the audience what that means.
There's blue line and green line. The green line is where they put the apartheid wall separating the West Bank from isn't real. However, they didn't put the wall along the line. They put the wall across the line, which allowed them to annex the territory between the demarcation line and the wall. And in the north, it's just called the blue line. It's just, it just separates them from Lebanon.
So it's basically what you're saying is, for the audience, you're saying the border of Lebanon is where they've been hitting.
Yeah. Does Israel even have borders? Because their borders are mobile. You know, they're always expanding deeper into the West Bank and stealing territory. So green just is Palestine, blue is Lebanon.
So they've been hitting Lebanon quite hard. They've been hitting the border quite hard. They're not allowed the Israelis in. Is this the tactic they're going to continue deploying?
Israelis did go in and didn't fare well. And they tried twice to come in from the east because since Al-Qaeda runs Syria, they can just... They don't have to cross the blue line and go over to the territory. They can go freely through Syria with completely unopposed and then fly into Lebanon as deep as they want. However, even with that, even with Hezbollah having to guard a larger perimeter, they're still catching them and they're still shooting down helicopters.
And you mentioned with quite a lot of glee about the Merkava tanks that were taken out. One you said you watched many times. How many Merkava tanks have now been taken out? I'm counting a large number by now.
Yeah, I lost count because some of them, I don't know if it's the same video from a different angle or whatever, but they got 5 right away. It looks like they're up to at least 8, and that's what's admitted. So it's probably more than that. It's hilarious. They did the same thing twice. They disabled one and waited for it to be rescued, and then disabled the second one. And well, they sent 2 to go rescue it. So they did, and then they disabled the second one. The third one ran away, but they knew the exit route and they ambushed it on that and got the third tank. And those were destroyed and those people were killed. And then they did the same play. Same thing. Did it with a helicopter. Shoot one down, wait for the evac because they let the Israelis call. They're, oh, I'm alive. Get us out of here. And then they got the next one.
How did they disable it?
Cornet missiles.
Okay.
I imagine they hit the tracks or broke the engine. That's the only way, really.
Okay, so they used a Cornet missile, disabled the first one, waited for the rest of them to come and help, and then they took those out and disabled them as well.
Yeah, they could have just blown it up, but disabling is better because the Israelis, they saw this in Gaza. They'll go and tow it out. They're like, well, come on over here and get ambushed yourself.
Interesting. And so the ground invasion's not going great with Israel.
It's going great. Oh,
it's going great for us.
No.
No. I mean, initially they said they were starting the ground invasion. They then changed the language and said, we're not doing a ground invasion, we're doing incursion. And then a couple of days ago, they said once again, yes, this is a full-scale ground invasion. What do you foresee happening over the next few days?
They were doing a ground invasion. Just every time they went in, they got clapped. So they're like, oh, no, I'm not fighting yet. Yeah, right. They did do ground invasions, and it didn't work. Then they tried coming in like through Syria, and that didn't work. They tried crossing the blue line again. That didn't work. But they can't just sit there and play defense. Hezbollah can't go into Israel on the ground either. Exactly. Not really. But they can swarm them with drones all day, every day. And if you don't go out there and stop the drones from coming, you're losing all your radar. Your airport's being harassed. Infrastructure around Haifa, power plants, these kind of things have been taken out and are on fire. And this is coming simultaneously with the big guns from Iran. Like, as they've noticed, all right, your interceptors are at a minimal level. By the way, they took Patriot 3s out of Korea too, not just that. They grabbed all of it because they're desperate. I know. Yeah, Korea's real happy. North Korea might be, but it doesn't matter. This is proven they don't work, so whatever. Iran also scared off a B-2 strike, and they were going to do like a final strike. Why are you calling it that? Because you think Iran's about to give up, or is it America that's about to declare victory and give up? It seems like the other way around.
Yeah.
They did not escort out of the Strait of Hormuz. That was just all mouth from Trump. He can't do it. I think the people around him let him know, hey, we can't do that. So they will not do that. Although Iran has offered those who don't have military involved in the conflict, they might start allowing them out. So that would be East Asia. But the Gulf states, nah. And good Lord, the UAE is just taking it on like the mouth, the anus, every direction. They're just not having a break. And they really hurt themselves by lying about it. Whereas everyone else is like, yeah, we're at war. It's horrible. They're like, everything's fine. Like, no, it's not. Tourists are gone. It's a ghost town in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Gas production is 0. Oil transport is 0. Imports 0. And people are starting to steal from each other because everything's empty. So great.
What's the and going back to the point you made about South Korea, they've now, as you mentioned, taken the defense interceptor missiles. Where are they specifically going to place them? Are they going to place them in Israel? Are they going to place it in the Persian Gulf?
No, that's going to Israel. Like, the Gulf will get 0 of those. 0.
How many?
0.
I just got to make you say it twice.
Yeah, there's nothing going to save them. Like, guys, you went in bed with Israel. Israel controls the United States, not you.
Exactly. You can give your 5 trillion.
His name is Epstein, not Ahmed.
Yeah, good one. I like that one. Now, coming back to the other thing you mentioned with the defense interceptor missiles, what's happening with that? Like, we know they were running out. Maybe they had about 4, 5, 6 days, maybe a week. Now they're getting these from Korea. How much more longer are they able to last?
It might extend it in another week, whatever. and they're using the old stuff too.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. These cluster munitions, they did some beta tests with it. They're like, oh, they can't block these at all.
Mm.
Let's put that on the menu. And then Iran's talking about 1
And it just
ton or
explain.
more.
Sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. You just explain the cluster for the audience. You know, in the way
Yeah,
we.
they call it. So it's really a reentry view. So there's two types. There's the kind that are a cluster of decoys. So the missiles coming in, pops open, and a bunch of little missiles with no warheads. They're just fake decoys go and they eat up interceptors because they can't tell which one. Even
Yeah.
if you use a heat seeker, they all have heat signatures, so it doesn't matter. It can't tell which is the real missile and which is just a dud.
Mm.
And the duds do a little damage too. I mean, they physically can hit things. That's not,
Yeah.
they can rip through a roof. So, and then there's others that they're all low grade, like little grenades. So they go and all of them do damage over. It's like an anti-personnel weapon.
Mm.
So if you hit that, we're in a staging area, for example, you take out all the troops.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other one is you mentioned where it disperses and it's actually all different
That's
smoking.
decoys with a solid one in this, somewhere in that mix, and that's for taking out buildings and things. That's a high impact for that.
Yeah, yeah. And then you're gonna explain something about Iran.
No, well, they're sending the big 1 ton and more warheads now. They didn't want to waste those or chance those being intercepted, as they do have a limited number of these. But they have their target's choice, and they feel like now's the time. I don't know if the Korean PAC-3s have even arrived. And you can't just simply get them in the place. And it's hard for them every time where are they going to bring them to? Haifa's under siege. Iliad's closed. Ben Gurion is open, close, open, close. They're panicking there. And Hezbollah's been able to hit that too.
Mm.
And so the easier said than done. It looks like Trump has ordered 2 more carriers to join. That could be a week away.
Wow.
The Bush and the Eisenhower on their way. The Ford is there. The Lincoln's there. But too little, too late. They don't have the target packages. It's pretty obvious. All they can do is bomb Tehran with their standoff weapons. There was a B-2 raid that got turned around. I mean, I guess they got locked on. They realized they're locked on, and so they decided to abandon that.
Mm.
That's very telling. And it means they're casualty adverse. It means that there is air defense in Iran, at least protecting the places where the missiles are coming from, which I guess they decided, let's go bomb that instead of civilians today. And they realized how thick the air defense was, and they abandoned that. I think America's going to leave Israel with its dick in the wind. Like, yeah, you started this. We did, we took out some Navy. We blew them up. We're done. And then Israel's going to get destroyed.
So just on the B-2 bombers, just for the audience to clarify. So they were going to go in with the B-2 bombers. They were going to target probably key missile defense on nuclear.
Those things have a very heavy impact, each one of them, and their stealth. But there are ways with long radar and stuff to still detect them.
Well,
and
so doesn't that show that Iran's got anti-stealth radar systems?
Yeah, they got the Chinese stuff.
We said that they had it, but there was no confirmation. I think that's clear now.
I figured they have a limited amount, and they put it on where it most needs to be, which is unfortunately not urban areas.
Yeah, because you would protect your military assets.
If you had them all, you put them everywhere, but they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big country. You need a lot of radars.
Exactly. Now, so you said the B-2 bombers that they were going to bring in, that was called the last
final strike, or they like, if we do this, they'll tap out, because their rhetoric has been, their ballistic missiles have dropped 80-90%. They're almost out of them. Like they're on the ropes. They're just all this rhetoric. Same stuff they said about Russia. Like, Russia's running out of artillery. 3 years later, still shooting it. Exactly. It's Ukraine that was running out of particular sizes of artillery, but not artillery in general. But yeah, it's just, they're saying they're doing that Nixon thing to Vietnam, was give them one big bomb and then leave. They didn't even pull that off. And Hegseth and Trump, I mean, they can use the N-word, going nuclear. They floated around the eye of ground troops. I think the Pentagon got in their ear and told them how impossible that is, and stop talking like that. So if you look at this Truth Social, it's just He's just promising things that are physically undoable.
Mm.
And so, as much of an egomaniac as the dumpster is, the Trumpster, whatever, he needs a face-saving way to act like what he did was right and get out of it. And this is what really sickens me is Pete Hegseth started saying, well, Iran is shooting missiles from schools, trying to justify bombing that girl's school earlier.
Yeah.
And that's just
where we had that
absolutely
rhetoric
beyond the
before.
pale.
Ryan, where we had that rhetoric before.
Well, they said the same thing about Hamas bombed their own
Mm.
hospital and they're bombing, shooting next to their houses or something.
Exactly.
It's not true. The ballistic missiles are in the mountains and deserts mainly. There's a clip from Scott Ritter that goes over how we freaking know it was a Tomahawk and that the U.S. did it and that they did a double tap. And you can make the excuse they had outdated maps or something. I think they probably did.
Mm.
But the safety checks in place for things like that were removed by Hegseth. So it's still his fault.
But also, it could be an accident, but how do you explain the double tap?
They just saw people running around, couldn't tell whether they were children or soldiers. I don't know. I mean, you got to give them a lot of lenience to call it incompetence.
Yeah.
I think they just bomb a school. I mean, they're teamed up with Israel. So
I think that's like
the U.S. has never had a problem killing civilians in any war it's ever been in.
No doubt about it. But I think this extra escalation when it goes to targeting schools, this was always the Israeli way for the last 3 years. And I think teaming up with them means that you almost become like them. Yeah, you become like them.
I've got the clip in the below if you want to play it. It's up to you. But this is, this guy, this was his job. He's the missile person. This is what he did. He's a weapons inspector, intelligence officer, and a Marine. So if you want to hit.
Is this Scott Ritter you're talking about?
Yeah, it's Ritter there. He's talking to Judge Napolitano.
So
great show.
This is an embarrassment, but perhaps the most humiliating aspect of this is the fact that the American people haven't woken up to the fact that we have now entered the same pages of history with some of the worst regimes in history. We are a war criminal state. We have carried out an illegal war of aggression. We have carried out perfidy. We have assassinated leaders, and we have murdered school children. And this was all based upon the horrific advice provided to this president by Pete Hegseth, a man who removed the rules that prevented America from slipping down the path of unconstrained war crimes and created a situation where we slaughtered 170 school children because we forgot that there's this thing called the law of war.
So that's what you were referring to, Ryan, in terms of, and I'm just breaking it
Yeah,
up.
and perfidy is when you attack somebody under the guise of negotiations and then you hit them, or under like a white flag and you trick them and you hit them. That's what perfidy means, what he's talking about. And he will concretely explain how exactly we know that it wasn't Iran that hit itself, because you can see it. It's a Tomahawk, which is American. The only question was, is it America or Israel? That was the only question, real question. This was the U.S.
And it had
Hegseth,
sorry, go ahead.
Pete Hegseth, the drunk Christian Zionist, head of the War Department, ought to be in jail. He ought to be removed and jailed. And the fact that he's like, oh, we're investigating it. No, you're not. And Trump blamed it on Iran. They should have said, we screwed up, we're sorry, at minimal. But they're just not owning it. And now it's worse. They're saying, well, Iran's shooting from schools. Now, that's a Netanyahu play there.
Yeah. And we know that the Tomahawk was a US one. First of all, it's confirmed it's a Tomahawk. We also have the barcodes and the serial code. So it's kind of been exposed completely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I could explain this, but like he broke it down. So I'm giving a hat tip to Ritter. This is Hegseth.
Yeah, let me play this. I'm just breaking it up because then you get the YouTube thing.
President Trump, if you haven't seen this yet, it's going to blow your mind. Here's what President Trump said about the slaughter of those 170
this is unreal.
Little girls. Chris, cut number 10.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still
But
investigating.
the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran
Can you give us an
because
idea?
they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Pause that. Pause that.
You take
They have no
the
accuracy
video and slow
whatsoever.
it
The only side that kills civilians is Iran, not the Israelis. That's all they ever do. It's unconscionable that they say that with a straight face. Like, yeah, we don't kill civilians. They do. Talking about screaming in pain as they beat you. And the judge is about to make a point. He's like, it's a tomahawk, so it was us. Like, yeah, that's the simple answer.
Exactly. That's it.
and you'll see it's a tomahawk. How could it possibly have been done by Iran? Who could have given him that information? On what could he have based it?
Well, first of all, he knows. First of all, that the tomahawk that you see is the second strike, the double tap. This came after 4 tomahawks struck this facility, and this is what the American people. It's a larger facility. We hit 4 targets there. The initial strike, 2 warehouses in the left hand, or I don't know the orientation, but if you look at a photograph, the left-hand side, two warehouses that were empty because there's no smoke, no secondary explosions. We struck a main hospital building. I'll get to that in a second. Smoke came out of that, so the targeteers assumed that we had achieved the desired effects there. And then we struck another facility about the same size as the warehouses in the upper right-hand corner. This happened to be the school, the secondary school for girls aged 6 to 12. We struck that facility, but there was a 5th cruise missile. These are Tomahawk Block 4s. The 5th cruise missile was the contingency cruise missile. This is the one that circled over the site, sending imagery back to the destroyer that launched these cruise missiles, so that people could evaluate whether or not the desired effects had been achieved, and if not, to restrike. They made a decision that the 2 warehouses were sufficiently struck because you had holes in the roof, no secondary, empty facilities. The hospital, which they didn't believe was a hospital, but it was a hospital, had been struck, smoke coming out, meaning you achieved the results.
Just the hospital being hit is bad enough. Like, you hit the hospital. It's overshadowed by the school. Like, don't forget, in this strike on the first day, you blew up a hospital and a school.
I read a day ago, so it's probably more so now. They've hit at least 13 different medical facilities already.
They're Iran misfired again, just like our own defenses hit 3 F-15s, right?
Yeah.
Who's really inaccurate with their munitions?
Yeah. And we also know that they've hit now 5 or 6 schools. They hit another school just yesterday.
Well, the Hegseth is saying they're shooting missiles from schools. They don't know what to do. This is pure terrorism. They're just killing out of spite.
Exactly. Well, he did say in his Truth Social post today that he's going to rain fire and brimstone and send Iran back into the Stone Age, is what he said.
It's going to be 20 times harder, but you've wasted all your first day was the worst day.
Yeah.
You're running lower on munitions, not higher.
Exactly. Let me play this.
Dual capability. It penetrates and then blows up inside. So if you got a hole in the roof and you got smoke coming out, it means that you achieve significant damage inside. Then you have the 3rd facility that had been struck, partial collapse. But here they saw people running around. Here they saw people moving in, assembling, people coming in off the streets. And a decision was made that this must be a very important site. So they sent the cruise missile in to strike it. But not just it didn't just hit with the dual phase warhead. The Block 4 has the capacity to take unexpended fuel and use it as a fuel air explosive to create a thermobaric effect. And so this missile went in to the building, didn't just explode conventionally, but went in with a thermobaric effect, a deliberate choice made by the targeteers. Now, what had happened, though, is that first missile.
So that was a deliberate attempt to cause as maximum damage as possible to basically burn the place to a crisp. Right?
And they chose that on the school.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And this is what, when the first one hit, there actually were a lot of survivors and their parents were coming and getting the kids. and the second one hits, when the parents are there and staff and kids, and does this thermobaric blast, and that's what you do. The remains of these children are completely charred, just like October 7th.
Yeah.
When
Where
Israel
it hit the
bombed Rome.
school.
Yeah.
And the majority of the students survived. There were some that were killed in the initial strike, but the teachers took the survivors and moved them into the prayer hall, which was a part of the facility that remained intact. They called up the parents, most of whom lived locally. The parents began to arrive to pick up their children. Majority were concentrated in this prayer hall when the decision was made to restrike. This cruise missile came down, penetrated, blew up, and then the thermobaric explosion hit. Listen to how the parents described the condition of their children's bodies. Burned to a crisp. There was nothing left. This was a deliberate action by American planners. We know how many cruise missiles were struck. Each cruise missile had a target put into it. We know that there was...
Ryan, do you know the time span difference between the first strike and the second strike?
I don't know. It's not a lot of time, but they had time enough to call the parents and have them start picking up the kids.
Okay.
So they wait. They usually do this with double taps. This is sick, but when they bomb a wedding or a funeral, they would do this in Afghanistan. They'd wait for the emergency service vehicles to arrive and then hit them as the second one so they could take out the ambulances and fire trucks and things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it sounds like it sounds like it'd be like 30-40 minutes maybe between the two.
To restrike, we know this without any doubt. The president of the United States is either a liar or has been told bad information, and Hegseth knows the truth. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed from power and preferably arrested. And let me tell you why. See, the United States, even though we're not a signatory to the additional protocol of the 1949 Geneva Conventions, the additional protocols 1977, we adopted them as part of our manual for the law of war, the law of war manual, Department of Defense, and it requires us to use discretion when striking. We have to determine that there is no civilian target. This is a requirement under the rule of law. I've done targeting in combat. I can tell you we do this. We don't allow artificial intelligence to pick these targets, assign grids to them, and just strike them out on a whim. But that's what we did because we eliminated the requirement to adhere to the law of war. Pete Hegseth did this. In 2023, Joe Biden's Department of Defense put forward a directive called the Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Directive. This required the Department of Defense at every level to have a team who looked over every target to determine whether or not this target was a military target or civilian target. We knew that this facility in 2016 cut off that site. We knew in 2016 that became a elementary school. We knew this because it was public information, but artificial intelligence doesn't pick up on that. Artificial intelligence was simply told within this compound to find buildings of a sufficient size that could be used to hide cruise missiles or drones or anything like that. So we're doing a preemptive strike to carry out, to take out.
Where have we heard that before?
Exactly. And he's mentioning about how Hegseth, which you elaborated on earlier, about how Hegseth removed conditions and precautions, the human element, which basically makes sure someone follows the laws of war. Correct? Is that right?
That's right. He's one of these holy rollers that just like kill the Muslims. We want to be lethal, kill, kill, kill. That's he's like a frat boy.
Yeah.
And drunk on power, and he should never, ever have been a secretary of anything.
Exactly. He's just a talk show host who was just given the job.
Be capable of. So we hit 2 empty warehouses, we hit a hospital, and we hit a school. Welcome to the targeting. This would have not happened had Pete Hegseth not canceled this directive. Had this directive been in place, we would have a team of targeteers, specially trained to go through the intelligence and ensure that we don't strike anything that remotely resembles a civilian target. And this was a knowable. We had the information that it was a school. It's just that artificial intelligence bypassed that. But we took out the human element. We struck it. We murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Pete Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed and held accountable. If this president wants, he can blame it all on Pete. Said he was lied to by Pete, whatever. But somebody's head has to roll. We murdered 170 children. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act of war carried out by the United States in violation of our own laws, in violation of international law.
Why
I'll tell you what's
does
extra scary about that is if they did that in that area, that means all of their bombing is relying on AI without the law of war, and that everything they're hitting, they have no idea what it is. They're not up to date,
Yeah.
which it explains why they're not getting the ballistic missiles, but it also can explain why they are getting a lot of innocent targets and just nonsense like empty buildings and paintings.
So just on that, we know that they are hitting paintings, they're hitting empty buildings, they're hitting civilian infrastructure. From your understanding, how much of the key military positioning are they hitting where they, for example, where they're holding missiles or missile launch pads or these type of things? How much of that are they hitting?
Very little. Like Iran knows the U.S. is going to rely on AI, and they know how to gain that system. They have not really diminished their capacity offensively at all. You can tell by the way they just went ding, ding, ding and tagged all the radar. They went step by step. All right, take out their eyes and ears, take out their supplies, their warehouses of missiles so they can't resupply, hit the ports, hit the airfields, just like right down the script, military 101. And then Hezbollah was activated. Israel was they like to preempt everything. Hezbollah just went ahead and fired on them first because they saw the troop build up and they're like, nah. I think they fired 6 missiles and then trying to go to Israel and look, we only have 6 missiles per week. Come on in here. Get it. Come on, like Macho Man. Come on down. Come on down. Come on down. It's like, and they went in, got smacked, went out, licked their wounds, tried coming in from Syria, failed, tried going across the blue line again, failed again. And they're getting lit up. Haifa is lit up. They knocked the power plant out in Tel Aviv. They hit a power plant in Haifa. They even hit the offshore oils, Leviathan. They went and flew all the way out there with a drone and nailed it.
Yeah.
No defense out there. They're not going to be able to stop it. Today, toward like tonight, my time is when, hellfire's coming to Israel. And I sure as hell wouldn't want to be one of these Gulf states. They have nothing left. Begging is all they have left.
Exactly. And what, I mean, completely, and agree with you in terms of what you said. Any last thoughts?
Except Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're not as bad as Bahrain and Qatar and Kuwait and UAE, but they can be dealt with.
Yeah. I am seeing a number of hits on Riyadh as well, but you're right, the numbers are a lot less.
It's just a larger, stronger country, but they don't have much offensively. And if Iran wants to hit the pipe going to Jeddah, they could. It's they haven't. They're letting them have that, but it's kind of like, don't touch our oil, we won't touch your oil. But for these little fiefdoms that are housing U.S. bases and allowing them to stage troops there, use the airfields and the fleets, their name is mud, and they can't even see them coming anymore. When you're getting hit by drones, you don't have air defense.
Exactly.
Now, do you see Israel employ their new little laser weapon?
Tell the audience about that.
If it had worked, they would have used it the first day. They're going to experimental weapons because they are out of interceptors.
Exactly. And what's been the effectiveness of this iron beam?
I think they shot a drone, made a good PR video, whatever. It doesn't work. Yeah.
Just on the drones, obviously Iran is basically causing a lot of havoc with the drones, which don't cost that much to make. From the Israeli perspective, like we said previously, that it's going to be difficult for them to use defense interceptor missiles against them. Actually, this holds for UAE. This holds for all of the GCC countries as well as Israel. How are they countering the drones? Are they using defense interceptor missiles, or what are they doing?
They're getting hit by them. I mean, if they were smart, you'd just get some rail guns and everywhere, and then you'd hit the drones. They're slow, but they don't do that. And I can say that now because it's too late. It doesn't matter. This is what Japan does. They made these super rail guns, and that takes care of drones, and it's just bullets. It doesn't cost much. But too bad for them, man. You trying to hit a missile with everything because they're so tied to Lockheed. Their defense is American defense. Like all their stuff, they don't build those missiles. America does.
Yeah.
Israel doesn't have factories to make these things. America makes them all, or the American allies, and not Israel. And 70% of Israelis live in those two cities in the north. Well, Tel Aviv's kind of in the middle, and then Haifa in the far north. This is the day we've all been waiting for. This is the turning point of the war. It's been about 50-50 until this point. Hezbollah has eyes. They have China's eyes that you can't poke. Israel's going dark. Their eyes are worse than mine.
No, I'd say there's a worse. There's a
Pun
worse.
intended.
Yeah.
Well, mine's fixable, but it's cycles. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're gonna be taking it on the chin now, and they can bomb Tehran. They can kill civilians in Beirut, and they will, and it sucks, but it's worth it for the total destruction of Israel, and that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Israel might not exist. It depends. They're at Iran's mercy because the U.S. can't defend them.
Yeah, they need to strike hard, then strike fast. They moved the Gerald Ford to the Persian Gulf. I'm not sure if it's arrived yet, but what's the plan? Are they going to replace that with the George Bush, or what's the plan with that?
They're sending the Bush and the Eisenhower, but the Lincoln's only got about another week before it has to go refuel and refit anyway. It's been loitering out there for a while.
Yes.
So the Ford, I guess those three will come and Lincoln will leave. I guess the de Gaulle is arriving as well from France. I don't think that's really going to be engaged in combat. They'll be there for defensively, maybe Aegis systems and whatnot. But yeah, I got to go in like a minute.
I need to wrap up. So, first of all, Ryan, appreciate you coming on. As always, giving us the daily updates. Very important for the audience. Guys, do follow Ryan Dawson. Follow his Substack. Sorry, for the first is Twitter. Twitter is Rye Liberty. Do follow that. And the second thing is his Substack. And it's on ryandawson.org. And it's only $6.50 to join his Substack. And I do recommend everyone supports his work.
Yeah, you can join for free. You can go up a tier by paying. Yeah. The big thing is more carriers are on the way, which shows the U.S. is staying in this for a while. And Hezbollah is whooping that ass. Like there is not a single victory to point to against Hezbollah right now with Israel.
They're losing, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, give Ryan a follow. Ryan, appreciate you as always. Thanks for coming on, and definitely we'll get you in again tomorrow. And do obviously jump in the space anytime you want as well.
Absolutely. If there's any breaking news, I'll jump into space.
Appreciate it. That is Ryan Dawson. Guys, you got to give him a follow. Appreciate you coming on, Ryan. That is Ryan Dawson. You got to give him a follow. The guy is a legend. Obviously, you see his geopolitical analysis is on point. And